Ready? Play.
Oh, guys, 1 second. I guess I don't know how we're gonna. Oh, okay, we're gonna have some live scoring. Okay, never mind. So I don't have to think about that. Tommy Paul, Lukas Klein, second round of the Mutua Madrid Open. Let me see about one thing though. I left some milk overnight, and I don't think I should drink it. However, I will. Thankfully, thanks to a gas stove, I will turn it into like some cocoa or whatever. Anyway, I'm gonna do that after the stream. I just realized like 5 minutes ago. By now, yeah, we're just gonna be playing here. The guys have finished their warm up, sitting on the bench now. Tommy Paul, the 15th seed, taking on Lukas Klein, who's been really good this year, but also because he's going the ATP route and like kind of qualifying and then winning max one match. He's also not amassed all that many points. Obviously, things really could have been different for him if he beat Zverev at the Australian Open. Like, had he won that match, but he didn't, and now he's kind of like still on the verge of the top 100 of the ATP race. But needless to say, he has been playing some very good tennis this year. The conditions here, fast clay, always kind of one of his favorites. I mean, I think Klein is better in quicker ones, especially as we go up the ranking ladder. But like fast clay is something that he kind of grew up on. The forehand does tend to like a bit of time on it. So it is a very nice profile for him. He's going to play Tommy Paul here, who should be pretty vulnerable given that, he's not exactly the Rafael Nadal in terms of clay court expertise. I mean, Tommy is absolutely fine on clay, of course, especially compared to most Americans, but especially not having played since Miami, right? Since that ankle roll, there is some vulnerability to Tommy Paul here. And if there's one player who has been making the life of top seeds very uncomfortable this year, Lukas Klein deserves to be a mention in that category for sure. The organizers in Madrid did something that I'm not exactly pleased about, which is basically schedule all the best matches very early in the day and in the one slot. That's kind of what they've gone for today. And by that I mean Marozsan Cerundolo, Musetti Sejbov Wild, Klein Paul, and also Andreeva Noskova on the women's side. So it will be a bit tricky to follow all of them, especially with also doing the stream. But like we are gonna do our best. For now, 30 all. Klein had a very electric start, but now a couple of easy misses. First on the slice and on this +1 forehand. Now he kind of needs his serve to be absolutely firing today. Obviously, Tommy Paul is someone with a lot of like return skills and like athleticism as well. So it's not going to be obvious for Klein that he can just overwhelm him the way he does most players. But I think, it's a very, very live shot to win. In the opening round, Klein dominated Pablo Llamas Ruiz for about a set and a half. But after that, it suddenly got tricky. Llamas Ruiz getting into the match, finally drawing some errors out. And Klein even had to fight back from a breakdown in the decider. The atmosphere at that match looked amazing. Eventually, he was able to get the job done, but you could definitely argue it shouldn't have been that tricky, as at 4 games all in the second set, he missed a second serve return that was, just sitting up there and basically could have ended the match right there. He lost that game, he lost the next game, but the first set was quite something. I mean, he was literally firing winners from all positions on the court, and he will be hoping to have a similarly electric beginning to the match here. Anna Karolina Schmidlova here in the crowd. Obviously, she's Klein's girlfriend of many, many years now. Yesterday, she lost to On Jabeur in her women's singles round 2. So she and Klein is now hoping, or maybe it's only Klein that's hoping that he's gonna do at least one round better. But maybe it's actually Schmidlova is sitting there and thinking, no, he can't be better than me. He can't do better than me. I don't know. Not in her head. But anyway, Tommy Paul about to serve. Love went down. A bit of a throwaway first game with like him still not finding that return rhythm too well. And even though Klein committed a couple of simple errors, it was easy for him in the end. When it comes to Klein playing players like Tommy Paul, so like top 20, obviously that's not really something that Lukas Klein has had the chance to do on many occasions. However, last year he almost beat Stefanos Tsitsipas in Davis Cup. And I think he blew the second set there and eventually ended up retiring in the third, if memory serves right. Whereas against of course, against Alexander Zverev at the Australian Open, that's a match probably most of you remember, and that was truly a phenomenal show. Like that was one of the best matches of the Australian Open. That obviously will not go remembered really. Like most people have already forgotten about it, but it was fantastic. And he's also played Casper Ruud at Indian Wells, which was a good match, but he wasn't able to snatch a set. So it would be the best win of his career if he beat Tommy Paul. Currently, that's beating Sebastian Baez in the opening round at Brisbane earlier. He also had top 50 wins over Lehečka in Prost Day of last year and over Kecmanovic in Davis Cup this year, being one of the heroes of that tie, winning the one of the singles points and the doubles point as well, alongside Igor Zelenay, when Slovakia surprisingly beat Serbia 3 points to love. In Serbia, in an indoor clay venue. I can't remember if it was Novi Sad or what the city was, but definitely at an indoor clay venue. You picked the wrong qualifier, but who would have guessed Bertola? So Skin, yeah. Kin is referring obviously to the Shenzhen Challenger, where I thought that maybe Kamil Majchrzak has a fine shot at the title, but he lost to Altuk Celik-Bilek. But yeah, I wouldn't have picked Bertola. Although it still sounds a little unrealistic that Bertola is going to beat Duckworth and that Bertola is going to beat Harris or Layal probably then, or Yevseyev. I hope it's Layal. I hope we get a Layal final, win or lose. But yeah, Bertola was definitely not to be expected. I mean, it's a player we're all familiar with. One-hander from some Switzerland, famously beat Tommy Robredo, and Robredo was still a thing. But yeah, especially like indoor conditions, they don't really seem to suit him all that much. And for some reason this week, he's absolutely peaking. So of course, I will also be keeping an eye on the other matches. Franz Cerundolo up 2 breaks already on Fabian Marozsan. This is, by the way, the rival for Klein or Paul. So, for this match, this is a pretty important one too. Klein Marozsan, third round. That would be quite a show, but as it stands right now, Marozsan is in trouble there. Of course, Marozsan is an ATP 1000 specialist, so perhaps he's going to claw his way back. A men's match that's going on right now as well that I didn't mention is Andrei Rublev playing Facundo Bagnis. And I didn't mention that because, well, we expect an easy win for Rublev, but if he doesn't pull it off, that's going to really signify a massive, massive slump. Not to say, not to be disrespectful to Bagnis. I mean, he's been playing very well this season, but he's also 34 and like really going towards the end of his career rather than the prime of it, if you may. Although we've just had Jan-Lennart Struff picking up a title at 34, almost 34, so maybe Facundo Bagnis will do it in Gstaad or Kitzbühel. He definitely could in conditions like that. 30-15 for Klein here, backhand to backhand rally. Tommy slicing the ball and kind of giving Klein the ability to attack here, but will he take it? He's going to miss that final forehand. Wasn't that easy for him to hit through the court here. He was like always a bit ahead, Klein, but never really, transcended into like a properly winning position. Tommy getting to that backhand down the line switch up very effectively. The outside courts, of course, in Madrid, well, I guess maybe these are the ones where you feel the altitude even more because, well, and then generally, like, there's no indoor feeling to it, right? But at the same time, probably the bounce, the wind can also be a little hurtful to players like Klein. So let's see how he handles that. 40-30 now. Goes at the body of Tommy Paul and gets the point. So it's 2-1 for the Slovak qualifier. Klein has been, as I said, going the ATP route this year almost completely. I mean, I think he's played 2 challenger matches and interestingly lost them both to Marco Trungelliti in Manama and to Elmer Müller in Split. But he's played 7 ATP Tour qualifying events, made it at 5 of them. But the best part about it is that the ones that he missed out on were 250s, Doha and Estoril, whereas he actually made it at all the thousands and above, which is Indian Wells, Miami, Madrid, and the Australian Open. So he's kind of peaking for the right events this year. Mostly wins a round, mostly just one round, but it's still a pretty steady influx of points. I mean, in Indian Wells, for example, he was able to win one before losing to Ruud. Australia, he wins a round before losing to Zverev, right? Miami, he actually lost in the opening round to Alex Michelsen. And here he's already won a round against Pablo Llamas Ruiz, and beating someone like Tommy Paul would be a massive, massive result for sure. With potential to keep going too. I mean, Fabian Marozsan, Fran Cerundolo in the third round. That is far from unwinnable. And if he makes it to the fourth round, he could actually also face Alexander Zverev in a rematch of that beautiful Australian Open match. But I mean, that's of course for now. That's something we're gonna be talking about in a couple of days. That's not really something that we can truly think of yet, because well, Zverev has to get there first, and Klein has to get there too. So it's definitely not an obvious thing for them to really already be thinking about this, and I doubt they will be. Would players have to pay to be part of IMG? No. On the other hand, IMG wants you to be there if you're very talented and young, basically. I mean, someone like Yuncheng Shang, right? I mean, he's been IMG from the get go, and I'm pretty sure that they just pick him up, right? Because he was so good, and it's probably more so he who gets the benefits from representing them all over the world. If you're like a bit lower in status, and you just want to train at the IMG Academy or something, then obviously you would have to pay. But yeah, I mean, if you're one of their biggest prospects, then I'm pretty sure that everything is complimentary, right? At least if you're like Shang or Darwin Blanche or stuff, right? That's what I would assume, at least. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. How good is Giovanni Pecci Pericard? What is his ceiling? Tough question. This is kind of a big discussion at the moment. I mean, we just saw Chris Eubanks get into the top 30 of the world, and Pecci Pericard is kind of like Eubanks on steroids, like in terms of his athleticism, in terms of especially that. But yeah, just the regulation he can potentially build up in his game compared to Chris. Probably a better serve as well. So yeah, that could be the absolute ceiling. I mean, I don't think he's ever going to be like a super consistent threat at the top, but yeah, we saw what Chris Eubanks could do with that sort of game. Mallorca, Wimbledon, peak for 3 weeks and have some unbelievable results. I do think that Pachi Pericard can be a bit more, can be a more controlled version of that, more or less, because he's simply a better athlete. He moves 100 times better. When it's slower, he can hide that one hand there pretty well too, which is something that I don't think Chris really does. I mean, Chris will hit the occasional one-handed cannon from time to time, but I think Petri Pericard can potentially hit through it much, much better when the ball sits up for him. And if it's fast, then you're not gonna get to the serve. So, I mean, obviously that's gonna be a top 100 player at some point in the future. And quite how high? Seems like it would be unrealistic to expect that he won't have any massive peak like this at some point of his career either. Ooh, this could be a key point. Paul coming back from the brink of defeat really in this one, but Klein keeps firing huge shots. Everything is coming back though. That lob from Tommy was spectacular, but then Klein still gets to it. And he just keeps hitting out, he keeps hitting at the ball. He eventually finds the line on the baseline, and Tommy has to. Well, basically, it's a forced error. Like there's not much you can do when it's so close to your body. But this could have ended in 3 shots. Instead, it was 15. But still, Klein survived. But we can already see Tommy really bothering him a bit with that. With how good a mover he is, basically. Tommy, of course, a very natural athlete. Not the fastest player in the world, but I mean, it's not like he's slow at all. And he will be getting a lot of balls back here that maybe some other opponents wouldn't. Which is one of the ways you can play Klein, obviously. Most of the time, you're definitely not going to be out hitting him. I mean, we've had so many players this year, like Kasper Ruud or Alexander Zverev, basically, have to be a bit of an extra in matches with Klein. So you gotta be ready for it. And Tommy is stylistically a pretty tough opponent for him, I think. But yeah, still quicker conditions, potentially some vulnerability given it's Tommy's first match of the clay season. I still think it's a good chance at an upset, especially if the serve keeps firing and it's a couple of massive ones from 30 all. First one at the body, unreturned, and then the ace out wide. So Lukas Klein needs 3-2 after 16 minutes. Fast-paced, but that's what you have to get here. Where is Dominic Streaker these days? Dominic Streaker has been injured for a long time now. Didn't he retire at the Next Gen Finals as well? Or at least was heavily struggling with strapping on his thigh. Unfortunately, he has not played a single match this season, I think, right? Have to check that, but I don't think he has. He's still pretty high in the rankings because his start to 2023 was horrible. But yeah, obviously soon enough, a lot of points are gonna start dropping for him. So yeah,
Good morning, Damien.
Hello, John. He's currently at 121. So
just wanted to show the microphone.
Fantastic. Where is my microphone?
You'll get one. I've got 5 of these, so they'll be shared around as and when people are going to tournaments, and then I'll have to try and figure out how expensive it's going to be to buy you all microphones. But I'll figure it out. I'm getting there. 2 years down the line. How much have I missed with Tommy Paul and Lukas Klein, by the way?
Not much. No, nothing in terms of breakpoints and stuff. Kind of what we expected. I mean, Tommy definitely getting a lot of balls back that most other players couldn't. But given it's pretty fast, a lot of damage on serve done by Klein. So far he's holding on, and yeah, he's doing
on
fine.
Court 8, damage on serve is kind of the opposite, really, in terms of there's been a break each, both looking a bit vulnerable at times. The quality hasn't quite been there from both players as yet, but sort of in a way still waiting for things to take off, let's say. But there has been a break of serve. But I mean, Andreeva had chances to break before she eventually got over the line. Noskova is misfiring a little bit. So I mean, this is no Hassan Borna Choric. We're not going to those depths just yet. But I think this is yet to really.
You're gonna keep mentioning that for the rest of the year, aren't you?
Quite possibly, yeah. When we come, oh, by the way, why? Just quickly on the matches of the year discussion, why would I not be interested in that Shang Mute match from the other day?
Because it's too early in the tournament, and the names are.
No. It's a nuts, bonkers, crazy affair. Yes, I agree. Wimbledon final. If it's nip and tuck and it comes between the two, maybe I would towards the Wimbledon final. But that's a tiebreaker. It's not a decisive factor.
This and Runa Dimitrov, my early submissions, basically.
Runa Dimitrov. Oh, in Brisbane?
No, Monte Carlo.
Oh.
3.5 hours.
Okay, I can't remember that one. Oh, yes, of course. Yeah. I was Billie Jean cupping it that week.
Runa's second match of the day, yeah.
Okay, Matthew here. Good morning, John. Need to be a low fan. Yes, of course, I know. Good morning, Matthew. Matthew, I'm going to leave the stream, but as I do, I want to know how old are you, because this is kind of my generation in terms of British people, rather than.
But Alo is even on Polish TV all the time, so it doesn't need to be.
Ciao.
It doesn't need to be as prehistoric as you are.
if there was an equivalent to say goodbye in hello, I would use it, but I won't. So good morning, Matthew, and speak to you soon.
All right, we have the producer, the streamer, because we are doing basically 2 streams at one time, kind of on a tryout. And he is leaving while Tommy Paul is claiming the 6th game. I think he's going to change his racket now. Yes, indeed. So far, so good for him. There was this one game when Klein was like love 15, but I think it's pretty clear that so far the player doing more damage to the other serves is Tommy. But, well, it hasn't resulted in anything yet, so it's not obvious that this is going to continue either, so we have to see. But 20 minutes, this is going to be fast-paced for sure, even if we get tie breaks, which tie breaks are a pretty popular option, I would say, in a match like this, in these conditions, especially with Klein not being the best returner on the planet, but being, well, not the best server on the planet, but not being that far from that status. Cerundolo serving for the first set against Marozsan, so maybe that ATP 1000 record is gonna fall. Sabov Wild up an early break on Musetti. I think that's pretty clearly also one of the matches of the day. And Rublev up an early break on Facundo Bagnis. So, he could really use a win, even though it's a win he really should be getting like without much issue, without any trouble really. But he could really use it. So like it's still a vital match for him, I would say. And Layal has indeed beaten Yevseyev in Shenzhen. So we can still dream about Layal Bertola, I guess, skin final. Couple of quick points for Klein with that smash earlier, so he can afford this double fault here, probably, to go 30-15. Definitely a bit of a tame attempt, though, on the second serve, just middle of the net. Smacks that inside in forehand nicely. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier, where like the higher bounce actually doesn't bother him on that wing too much. In fact, it's sometimes the quicker courts where he can struggle with the shot. It is a bit of a complicated motion. Tommy, I think, even applauded this, which is pretty rare for a +1 winner, I think, but, well. Couple of nice recoveries here from both players, and eventually it's Tommy who gets to crack a forehead of his, getting the point, 40-30. The bounce might be pretty high in Madrid, but like the slice that Paul played in this one was still pretty nasty. It really didn't allow Klein for much on the attack. And he might be in a bit of trouble here, getting to deuce. Most of that is on the quality of Tommy's return, which just completely neutralized the point right away, despite it being a first serve. Yeah, that's too good though. Serve down the tee and then just pretty clean on the +1 pickup close to the net. Maybe could have been a bit more tricky, but he definitely made it look routine. And a game point for the Slovak qualifier yet again. Ooh, goes for the forehand drive too. And makes it. That's confidence. 4-3, Lukas Klein. Tommy Paul gonna serve after the break. But yeah, I don't know if I finished on Striker, but basically he hasn't played with injury. And I just wanted to say, I was thinking about this recently, that like after the next gen finals, we were all sitting there and just thinking, okay, so like Fields is gonna have a phenomenal season next year, obviously. And after that, probably Medjedovic and Striker. And well, Arthur Fields is having a solid-ish year, but nothing spectacular. Medjedovic has been out for like 4 months and just now is getting back, and Striker still hasn't played. So, well, success at the next gen finals, or like at least good play at the next gen finals in terms of Striker, because he wasn't that successful, but like that did not really give them anything, unfortunately, which I think is a bit of a, well, just a coincidence, right? I mean, Hamad was fully fit in Jeddah. Striker wasn't from the get-go. Striker wasn't from the very first match. Maybe he shouldn't have played, who knows, but it's a lot of money coming your way and a lot of recognition too. Fields was also fit. Fields is still fit. He just hasn't been doing that well, I suppose, especially in the golden swing. So, yeah, it's just a bit of a shame that especially in Medjedovic and Striker, Hamad only playing 4 matches before Madrid. Striker still hasn't played 1 even. So it's kind of brutal for both of them, for sure. But hopefully they're going to be back on track. I mean, Medjedovic this week already doing some fantastic damage. I mean, the win against Kova last night. Now he's going to play Hečka, potentially Tsitsipas next, especially if he gets that Tsitsipas clash. That would just be so fabulous and a real back on track type of moment if he is able to threaten him whatsoever, which I think he would be. Whew. Second serve return kind of throwing Tommy Paul off his feet here. It was a little, roll it into the court for sure. And Klein is quick to react. Klein even asking Tommy if he's okay. Because it seemed like Tommy slipped when he was trying to change directions there, but it wasn't anything huge either. Another big return, but yeah, he kind of like deceived himself with that one. Good reaction from the American to still find that angle cross court, despite the ball coming at him pretty big. And I think Klein definitely could have recovered after that return a little bit earlier. He was not back in neutral position and paid the price for it. But this is a game where we're getting a lot of returns in from Klein. So maybe this is a game where he puts some pressure on Paul. Definitely is doing it in this rally, but how do you actually hit through Tommy here is the question. Just keeps going bigger, and he actually finds the line with that last forehand, I think. So that was a pretty ridiculous point. I mean, he just hit a couple of big shots. Everything was coming back. And he just decided, yeah, I mean, I'm going to go even bigger. I'm going to add even more power. That's kind of the recipe and the remedy for everything if you're Lukas Klein. And I mean, this year it's been working out pretty okay. That's the first serve point that Tommy lost this match. And 15-30 down here, he has that second serve to look at, Lukas Klein. Who knows? Yeah, another great return, but will he win the point? He won't. Good pickup from Paul, right off his feet, and then the short ball is not capitalized on by Klein. So we are at 30 all, but this was a proper opportunity. I mean, this is one where he probably should have had 2 break points. Well, I mean, he at least should have maintained that advantage, went to the net, and then see what Tommy shakes up. But yeah, he just dumped that forehand, mid-court forehand into the middle of the net. But again, it's a second serve, so. The return is pretty good, but it's not enough to win the point. Lots of depth on the next shot. He sends Tommy flying here, goes to the net, and a beautiful volley finish. So we've got the first breakpoint of the match. Lukas Klein has it. Can Lukas Klein take it? That 15-all point was amazing. He wins that on Tommy's first serve, and then a couple of second serves from Paul, which one of them, of course, could have been converted into a potential 2 breakpoint advantage for Klein. He didn't, but now he has 1. Tommy will be praying for that first serve to go in, which it does, and he goes to the net, serve and volley. It's good enough. Klein trying to hit this forehand pass on the run, but he was nowhere near close. Bold move from Paul, but he was really nice on that backhand volley. I think if it was like Djokovic, he probably would have made that forehand pass on the run. But, well, we are watching Lukas Klein, not Novak Djokovic. And, of course, Klein is very mobile for his age. Like, he's actually a very good, for his age, for his height. He's actually a very good athlete himself. But, yeah, just not to that extent. Ooh, that was pretty close, but I think it's out, yeah. So it's going to be a game point for Tommy Paul now. That was an opportunity. But, yeah, Tommy bravely serve and volleying on breakpoint down and getting the job done. Can he close out the game quickly, too? Klein again attacking the return. But it's so hard to actually force Tommy to miss. We see a lot of these deep shots at the baseline from Klein, and then Tommy just picks them up. Good anticipation, good reflexes, the athleticism again. Yeah, it's not that easy. 31 minutes, 4 games all. 1 breakpoint saved by Tommy Paul with a serve and volley. Klein having that opportunity to pass him cross court, but it was, well, it was going to be a very low margin shot if he made it. Franz Rundolap, a set and a break on Fabian Marozsan, so we might actually see that ridiculous streak of ATP 1000 4th rounds and amazing performances at ATP 1000s by Fabian Marozsan go down here. Thiago Seyboth-Wild will also be serving for the set against Lorenzo Musetti. And in the other match that we're doing, Linda Noskova up a break on Mirra Andreeva, probably soon to lead 5-3. Kino, as always, with the tough questions. Most overranked player outside the top 200. Let me see who's outside the top 200 very quickly. No, these guys are fine. Is Jessica overrated after his Australian summer? Maybe a little, but I wouldn't put him in most Nick Hart, of course, just won a challenger. I don't think he really has has that quality in the long run, maybe, but 212 for him, that's not ridiculous. Definitely not. Currently, Agamenone is very Agamenone is very overrated at the moment, but that's because he has that Braunschweig title on his ranking. But without the Braunschweig title right now, he would like lose half his points or something like that. So I think Agamenone might be one of these guys now. Like I don't think he's coming back really from this. That might be a good answer. That's a very quick game, by the way, 5-4 Klein, so he doesn't let that missed breakpoint, that chance to go up a set, maybe even in the long run, get to him. Yeah, I think Agamenone is a solid one for that. Just given the fact that half of his points come from one event. He's playing very weird tennis right now. Server volleying a lot of the time, just without any ability to play at the net, or at least serve and volley, or at least play well in singles at the net. He's definitely pretty rough at the moment. But almost got to the top 100 2 years ago. Let me check out for a second, actually, how that, while we have the changeover, how Sabov, and Musetti are doing, maybe. Oh, as Thiago is serving for the set, I think he got an early break there, around 1-2. I have this on another screen, but it's like, I'm following it a little like on and off, given that Klein and Paul have to be my main focus, obviously. But yeah, Musetti in these conditions definitely quite vulnerable. Last year he lost to Yannick Hanfmann. Who will give Carlos Alcaraz a better match than who will give Carlos Alcaraz a better match, Musetti or Sabov? I think it's actually quite close. With Musetti, you're kind of guaranteed a decent showing, at least. Like, you're guaranteed a match that will be watchable. Sabov can have just like a nightmare day at the office, but he can also be very threatening to top seeds. Obviously, Daniel Medvedev was a victim of his at Roland Garros last year. But yeah, I mean, from what I'm watching, Musetti is like really struggling to neutralize the power of Sabov. Can't really like produce anything, reacting to it with the slice. The big shots usually end the point. And Sabov, of course, took the set there. But yeah, let's go back to Klein and Paul. As Tommy is serving at 4-5, 15 all. That's a very good cleanup from him. Rybakina up a set on Bronzetti. That's probably not too surprising. Caroline Garcia winning quite easily so far. That's surprising. Maybe. Pavlyuchenkova 6-1 over Daria Saville. Quite a power contrast there, which in Madrid, at least in most cases, I think matches like this do end up going to the more attacking, more powerful player mostly, but of course it's not a rule. And it's going to be 5 games all. Way too many just easy +1 points here for Tommy Paul as well. Which really kind of points out to you that previous game at 3-4, like that was a big opportunity because he was not landing the first serve there. Klein was basically in every point. but definitely not in this one here. So after 38 minutes, we are still tied. We are still dead even. 38 minutes of action, 10 games in. Lukas Klein serving to try to secure the tiebreak at the very least. Not the best idea, honestly, that drop shot. I think it was way easier to just put Tommy away. And he almost paid for it because obviously Paul is going to get there. And Paul is also going to force him to hit this tricky volley on the stretch. But it lands in, so it's still a point for Klein. But yeah, this time he doesn't, just go into any like fun drop shot. No. This time he just puts it away like he probably should have on the previous point. And Andrei Rublev serving for the set at 5-1. So it doesn't seem like he'll be struggling all that much there against Bagnis. Which of course is a very good thing for him, given that, well, he's lost the last 4 matches. Oh my god, has Tommy made this? I think he has. Nice turnaround from Paul in this point, and he eventually gets to the net, kind of helped out by the net court from Klein. And he finds this nice backhand volley here, falling right on the line. So it's 30-all of a sudden. I think a few points like this already in this match too on the Klein serve, and well, usually he was able to get out of trouble. Well, so far he was always able to get out of trouble. But we have a new we have a new occurrence of the Klein serve here with the breakpoint. Tommy blocking the return back, and it sits up a bit, but it's on the baseline, so Klein can't fully convert it yet. He tries to go for this inside-out forehand later, misses it wide, and it's a breakpoint for Tommy Paul. Trading backhands cross, not ideal for Klein that he's in this type of rally. He slices his way out of it. But Paul is playing a strong point too. Wow, lovely shot from Klein here. Well, the moment that this rally goes 10 shots, you kind of know that his chances to win it are decreasing with every shot. And you think that this pretty deep backhand down the line from Tommy is actually going to be like enough to, just keep them in it. But Klein snaps at his forehand cross court and saves the breakpoint. So both players have now saved one. I think he plays his second serve on the line too. Is it on the line? Yes, it is. Schmidlova is like no reaction to anything. She's just sitting there in like black, dark sunglasses and is not reacting to shots, points, or anything. Maybe she's still thinking about that loss to Ons Jabeur last night. And Lukas Klein gets the game, 6-5. So both players now saving a breakpoint in a pretty clutch manner. Very different too. Like the way that you would expect it from Klein, serve and volley, and the way that you would expect it from Paul in a long rally, but actually it was reversed. And Fran Cerundolo is up a set and 2 breaks on Fabian Marozsan. Not watching that one at all, so not sure what's happening. Yeah, Ghosty. Ghosty, Jesus. Ghosty. Jake, why am I thinking of Ghosty already? I'm not sure. Anyway, Paul Klein stream, yeah, that has to be me. How are you feeling, mate? I did not go out for a few jars with anyone last night, not feeling hungover. I actually woke up early today to go to the passport office. and I picked up my passport, and then I returned. I was really struggling to stay awake until the stream because, well, I woke up early, but I am here. And yeah, I'm enjoying this first session basically because, as I said, almost every best match is scheduled in this very window. So absolutely. And yeah, Sabov, absolutely very dangerous in these conditions. And what do you think Paul's most ideal is? Is that Indian Wells maybe? Like, is that Indian Wells? Does that make sense? But obviously he's very versatile. Like, I don't think it's grass. I also don't think it's clay really, but like a slower kicker friendly, spin friendly, athleticism friendly, hardcourt, right? That's kind of the best you can get for him, I think. I think Indian Wells is gonna be one of his best events. Yeah. Obviously, he made the semis this year, and he was a very popular dark horse pick there. He not only made the semis, but also had a very proper chance at making it to the final. Well, I mean, he definitely got Daniil Medvedev on like a very weird day, but at the same time, he was, of course, unlucky to roll his ankle. But yeah, I think Indian Wells is probably like the right answer to this. But he's super versatile. Like, I don't think there's really any court surface / anything that he's struggling on, really. Lovely shot here from Klein to go to 15-0. That's kind of like, because Tommy is getting to everything when you just allow him to, in terms of just being pretty predictable with your offense. But this is a ball even Tommy was not anticipating to get that sort of velocity on, coming from the other side of the net. Super early. And he gets the point. 15-all. Well, Paul is just not missing at all. So eventually it's going to be Klein who does. So hard to actually get an error from Paul in this match. And I mean, regardless if it's forced or unforced, really. And I think this return probably seals the deal in terms of us getting to a tiebreak. 40-15 for Tommy Paul. Both players have saved one breakpoint so far. Both players have, basically been involved in a very tight, even, high-quality affair. Clear contrast of styles. Tommy playing a bit like a backboard. And just not missing a ball. Is he even gonna find that? He didn't. Yeah, that was a bit of a mishit for sure. So 40-30, still one more chance to get us to a tiebreak, pain-free and without any tension on the deuce, on in terms of going to deuce here. Which I think obviously the tiebreak would be a pretty fair way to decide what's been happening so far. I mean, no one has been able to create any sort of lead, and that's a very optimistic drop shot from Lukas Klein. Not sure what he was trying to pull off there, but Paul just sends him a very easy cue. I mean, Paul just basically says, "Yeah, mate, what are you doing? That was never gonna work." 47 minutes in, 12 games on serve, just one breakpoint each. And here we go, the tiebreak. Tiebreak, obviously a very common thing in Madrid, especially when we're talking about two players who are both good servers, but at the same time, Klein is probably not the best returner either. So that's definitely an outcome that was to be expected. And let's see. Second serve right away in the tiebreak for Klein. For both players, I would assume, I haven't actually checked the stats yet, but for both players, I would assume their chances to win the point do drop pretty significantly if they're not getting their first serves in. And it's going to be a mini break for Tommy, getting that first forehand back. And that was enough to get an error out of Klein, really. Not much to say about this point. For the most of this set, Klein has been able to avoid errors like this, but here he didn't set up well for this backhand. Yeah, for both players, they do drop pretty significantly, but especially for Klein, it seems. Now he gets an opportunity to crack that forehand return, crack another forehand, and this one he really should be finishing, but it's in the net. So that's a brutal way to lose the second point of this tiebreak. I mean, two amazing forehands, but here we see the value of Tommy just making him play one more ball. That last one was really sitting up for him, though, and was close to the net too. I remember a couple of years ago, actually with the late Jakub, we were watching a Lukas Klein match in Bratislava, and I remember telling him that, like, I usually try not to do this because I think it's like just easy, very easy analysis, like very simplistic stuff, because most errors, are, well, they're not just, I come in and I make an error. Like most errors are caused by something, or you can find, some sort of cause-effect relationship in terms of maybe you going for a bit too much, or like your mindset, or any, technical flows or whatever, or the conditions. But I remember just telling him, I try to avoid this usually, but I mean, Klein is very talented, but like he just makes a lot of simple errors. And he's like, oh, yeah. And yeah, that's kind of been the thing. 2-1 though, as he survives the next rally. Eventually, it's actually Tommy Paul with an unforced error on the backhand side. Very rare for Tommy to just miss a shot like this in this match. Klein was probably right not to like push for a winner there, but how is he going to win the points otherwise? I'm not really sure. Paul finds an opportunity to drop shot, and he will be up a mini break again. Didn't have to end the point, definitely. I mean, Klein was still in time there, but he wasn't able to just come up with any threatening response from that position. So it's down a mini break again for Klein, who still hasn't won a point on serve in the tiebreak. And the next one might be trouble. It might be trouble too, because Tommy Paul gets his return in on the baseline. But it is a point for Klein eventually, as Tommy gets a position to like smack his inside in forehand a little bit more. He survived the early aggression. He gets his opportunity to strike, but he manages to, he doesn't manage to find the court with this. So it's 3-2, but so far a very tough tiebreak for Klein for sure. And that's every single point is, has to be played for. It's actually 2 unforced errors from Tommy that have given him his points, which is not how the set was going as a whole. In terms of the whole set, it was like, yeah, he had to win everything for himself. Now it's actually kind of Tommy deciding the tiebreak so far, both for better or worse. And that is continued. He finds a backhand down the line here in another point, which Tommy Paul is on top of, really. So no massive winners, no net play, no anything for now from Klein in this tiebreak, which certainly has sort of taken a turn in terms of the dynamics of the match, in that we have Tommy Paul on the front foot quite a lot now. I can't answer questions like who will win first set, because obviously that's not something that I know. I'm not an oracle. I might have a crystal ball somewhere, but the only thing I can see on it is dust. Okay, so I just said that every single point is basically played on Paul's terms right now. Well, that's Lukas Klein saying that shouldn't be like shouldn't be like this. I have to stop that because that's a huge forehand return winner down the line. That was probably faster than the serve. So we are back on serve, but well, considering how this tiebreak has been going, it's still a pretty tricky challenge for Klein to even win 2 points on his. So we're going to have to find out. He goes at the body of Tommy Paul. But yeah, again, the points just don't really come easy for him here. And the backhand down the line, he was trying to pull the trigger on. He actually landed it too. Holy hell. And that gets a reaction from Anna Karolina Schmidlova finally. She's clapping her hands now. What the hell was that shot? I mean, I was straight up ready to just say, yeah, how dare you go for this? Like, it's such an important point. You go for that shot. But he made it work. Jesus Christ. And he wins the next point too, like this? What the hell was that stretch? I mean, he gets in control of the point here. He goes inside out forehand a couple of times. Eventually, he tries to follow one up to the net. Of course, Tommy Paul is there with the open stance backhand pass. That's Tommy Paul, right? I mean, he's such a good athlete. But, well, the drop volley from Klein is just spectacular. So he basically wins 3 points with ridiculous winners from 4-2. I don't know, maybe it's the side of the court, after the changeover in the tiebreak. Klein just came back as a new man, but well, he needs to continue it now and win at least 1 point on Tommy's serve to avoid going a set point down. Let's see, 4-5. Oh my God. I mean, he goes for a rocket inside out forehand return. He misses it. I mean, Tommy Paul must be delighted because if he also landed this, like just straight up four lines painted in a row. I guess with the drop volley, it wasn't a line that he painted technically, but like it was a shot that, just barely bounced after the net. So 5 games all now. The return is in from Klein. Can he survive a longer exchange with Tommy here? Tries to go backhand line, and actually, I think he got the point done. Yes, Tommy Paul forces an error from Paul's racket. It's a little long. It's a little behind the baseline. The chair umpire is going to go and check it, but I think Klein is right about this. I think it was out indeed. He circled the mark, and it is out. So it's a set point for Klein now, who just like really went up a gear after we changed sides in the tiebreak, right? I mean, 4-2, Tommy Paul, he hits that backhand down the line, Paul, and it's like fully in control. And then suddenly that forehand return, that backhand down the line, the drop volley. But he still has to convert this, and it's a second serve on set point. Serve is in, but can he win the point? Yes, he can. Massive forehand. I think Tommy really could have done more with the return here. He was very conventional about it. I mean, he was probably hoping for some sort of a miss from Klein, but it doesn't come. I mean, what the hell was that? 4-2 up Tommy Paul by the time we got to the changeover. And then Klein just is unplayable on the next 6 points. It's absolutely ridiculous. The only one he lost was that inside-out forehand return, which was also pretty close. Like, it would have been an absolute rocket. It would have been ungettable. So yeah, the last 6 points, Klein just does this and basically is a completely different player for the rest of the tiebreak. So the Slovak qualifier is up a set. I don't know if on Discord we're going to be getting any stats on our screens. Probably not really, but if we do, I mean, I would expect quite a lot of winners from him in this one. I'm going to check on the ATP website. Oh, we actually do. Okay, 20 winners for Klein, only 6 for Tommy Paul. 10 unforced errors from the American's racket, of course, 18 from the Slovak. Unreturned serves, actually Tommy with a bit more. That's not too surprising, I suppose. He won more points on serve as well. They actually went 42-42 on total points won too, which, just again shows you how Yeah, how close that set was in 56 minutes. Tommy Paul with just 43% of his first serves in, but luckily for him, he's winning a lot of his second serve points too. So it's definitely not the end of the world. But yeah, what a ridiculous turnaround in the tiebreak. Just got unplayable for a few points. That's kind of it, right? From Klein. Cerundolo serving for the match against Marozsan 6-2, 5-2. Now breakpoints down, but it seems like he is very close to winning the match. Musetti and Seibovic still on serve in the second set for now. We still haven't had our first winner of the day, and in fact, we're not even that close yet, although it might be Rybakina as things stand. Or it could be Cerundolo if he just closes out the game here. Probably going to be Cerundolo, I guess. He's a bit closer. Now he's 2 points away again. But that was fantastic. The last 6 points, Lukas Klein just turns the tiebreak around completely. From maybe being a little bit more passive than he was in the entire set on the first few points, Tommy having a really like a field day, turning points around and getting to his chances, getting to his comfortable balls. Actually, Klein just... And it all started with that forehand return too. That was like 200 an hour, I think. The backhand line that I was fully ready to say, no, that's just too risky. And the drop volley, I mean, what the hell was that? 7-5 in the tiebreak. Lukas Klein leads, although they won the same amount of points in the set, 42 and 42. And we have to start the second. We get going. Tommy Paul this time serving first, of course, on the contrary to the opener. Both players had one breakpoint, I think, in the opening set, so it was quite serve-dominated, but the tiebreak in itself wasn't, at least not to that extent. Not much was coming for free in the tiebreak, which makes it even more, I guess, surprising and impressive that Klein took it. Yeah, controversial call here coming from the umpire. Comes off the chair and says that the ball was actually in. I would agree. Like from the feed, I thought it was in. Which mark is that? I mean, they're showing me some close-up, but I don't even know which mark is that there. But I think it should be a replay. I believe that Tommy played this back into the court, but let's see what the decision is from the chair. Yeah, we are replaying the points. This shovel-ish backhand from Tommy Paul misses the court, so he actually ends up losing this one. He thought he was 30 love up earlier, but things don't go like that. Marozsan has broken Cerundolo. Imagine if he wins that match from 2-6, 2-5 down and keeps up that insane ATP 1000 streak. That is, by the way, Marozsan or Cerundolo. That's the next opponent for Paul or Klein. So that's also an important match for this one in this regard. The net court from Paul kind of helps Klein, but also kind of slows it down. A couple of nice slices by Klein. Tommy forces him to move quite a lot here, but he's still in the point, Klein. I think Tommy found the baseline, though. Yeah, 30-15. Again, just actually quite a lot of use of angles here from both players. Like, that's probably the most geometrical point that we've had so far, if you may. Klein kind of caused it to himself with that one attempt to run around his forehand, and then he was always like just a little late to the ball on the next shots. never fully out of it, but just a little late. Yeah, it's just so hard to hit through Paul. But eventually Klein is able to get that error here. Even when the ball was like super close to Tommy's feet, he still picked it up somehow. He still made it a little tricky for Klein, but I guess the Slovak is doing a pretty good job the last few games of like hitting big, but not maybe necessarily going for broke. Of course, other than the last few points of the tiebreak, but like especially on return, right? Especially on return, he's like kind of good enough to keep the ball in the rally, which isn't that obvious if someone like Tommy is, just making you hit 20 shots. Again, on an important point, Tommy Paul tries a serve and volley attempt. This time he doesn't even need to touch the ball, though. Cerundolo will serve for the match again. In the other match that we're doing on Talking Tennis, Andreeva looks to set up the third set against Noskova. Klein with a huge return here. He was thrown out of the court by Tommy with that kicker to the backhand side, but he finds a stupid return here. So deuce, and already the pressure kind of piling up on Tommy Paul. Whew, that was close too, but I think he probably missed it, yeah. And some very good serving to seal the game from Tommy Paul, get on the board in the second set. And let's see if he can start putting more pressure on the Klein serve. I mean, in the tiebreak, it was not doing any damage to him, really. So yeah, crucial game coming up for Cerundolo, as he already failed to serve out the match once. And now he's going to have to do it all over again. He actually had a match point as well in that 5-2 game. He saved 3 break points, had a match point, and then lost on the 4th break point. But he has another attempt, as I said. And what else do we have? Still no winners yet. Maybe Cerundolo will be the first one. Or maybe it's going to be Elena Rybakina, 6-4-4 to up on Bronzetti. Pavlyuchenkova is getting closer. Garcia is getting closer, but their second sets are a lot tighter, a lot more entertaining than the first. So maybe it's not going to be that easy. But yeah, let's see. Lukas Klein. How much can the serve win for him this set, given that the last few games, the tiebreak, they have been getting like a little bit more tricky for him every single time. So there is a bit of uncertainty as we enter this part of the match, but yeah, I thought that slice was gonna go in. I'm surprised Tommy was just kind of left shocked when it clipped the baseline. It's kind of a cheaper point from Paul. You don't usually see that, and Klein will definitely take it. Goes up 40-15. Definitely take it, as in, he'll be happy to see it. I'm not saying he'll definitely take the game because of it. It's just 40-15. But obviously that increases his chances considerably. Serve down the tee, goes forward to the net, and a great volley to finish it off. So 1-game-all now. The block return from Tommy was pretty tough, actually. Klein going down the line with the backhand, but you could see that Paul might produce something. Although now that I actually see it on the replay, it's pretty shocking that Tommy even got that sort of passing shot in. Again, he's just so fit, agile. 1-game-all, Tommy Paul, Lukas Klein. 1-game-all in the second set, of course. And Franz Rundalos is still struggling to get over the finish line there. Marozsan had a break point already, so we still don't have a first winner of the day. Will it really be Rybakina, or will it be Garcia, who has some break points to serve for the match now? Maybe it will be Lukas Klein. Maybe all of them, they just suddenly have some major issues closing it out, and maybe Lukas Klein will actually be the first winner of the day. Who the hell knows? That's another one in the last 5 points where Tommy is a little sloppy with his feet, actually. Well, I doubt he's gonna be getting tired after one set, although he hasn't played in one in over a month, right? But let's say about a month. But I doubt that's gonna be it. It's probably just a coincidence. But that's certainly something he needs to avoid here. Donating points. Rybakina serving for the match in a second, Garcia serving for the match in a second, and of course, Franz Cerundolo is once again 2 points away from beating Marozsan. The Hungarian has already saved 2 match points, both on return. Once again, some better serving coming in from Tommy Paul. I'll probably check out Musetti save of Vint on the changeover a bit more extensively too. I've been sort of keeping an eye on it, but obviously it's not quite very focused watching. In the other stream that we're doing, Andreeva is serving for the second set again. She was 5-1 up, but still no harm done yet. And looks like Tommy Paul will also be will not be harmed in this return game. Oh, the ball kid dropped the ball, but obviously Klein is fully right here. He did show that we have to wait. There's gonna be physio coming, actually. We'll see if for Paul or Klein. My assumption would be Paul, but that's only kind of because he's losing, not much else really. But the physio is ready to enter the court. We'll see who took it. So that's what the umpire was talking on the walkie-talkie about. I wasn't sure. Maybe I wasn't fully wrong with that sloppier footwork for Paul the last couple of games. Maybe there's really something there, or maybe it's Klein taking the MTO. Or the physio visit. We're gonna find out soon. It's 40-30 still, so of course they are waiting with it until the changeover. If it's really Tommy who is gonna take it, then obviously he really wants to get this game done super quickly. Just get to the bench. But Klein is not allowing him to do this. Trading backhands cross, and it's eventually the Slovak who decides to change direction. Does it so well too. Probably not textbook technique, but he made it work. Kinda inventive with the way he went after the ball here. So getting to deuce. Whoever is waiting for the physio will still have to wait a couple more points. And we are rallying again at deuce. Tommy Paul dumping this forehand into the middle of the net. I mean, it's getting increasingly clear to me that it's probably Paul who's taking that physio visit. I'm not really sure what would be, the exact issue. I mean, we'll find out soon, but probably something with like a thigh or leg or whatever. But we'll see. I mean, maybe I'm just completely wrong here. But yeah, the Springer player for now, it's definitely Klein, who has a break point, second in the match. But Paul finds the first serve like almost on the line, really, and saves it. Marozsan, by the way, against Cerundolo now 6-5 in the second set. So Marozsan has turned it around, and he is simply unbeatable in the early rounds, it seems, at ATP 1000 events. He also saved 11 set points against Karatsev, right, in the opener. So he's kind of like the clutch king this week. In the meantime, we also finally had two winners on the WTA with Rybakina and Garcia serving out their matches. I'm not sure who was first. And there's going to be another breakpoint for Klein, which, watching this point, it's really getting much clearer now that it's likely going to be Tommy who is going to receive that MTO, I think, or a physio visit on the changeover. Tough to say yet. I mean, probably they don't know yet. But yeah, another breakpoint for Klein. Can he convert it this time? The serve was really close. I'm not surprised Tommy is like questioning it a little bit, but apparently it's not in. So second serve here. How will Klein, approach this? Is he just gonna blast it? Well, he's gonna try, but he's gonna miss it. It's probably a pretty tough spot for him too, right? I mean, kind of knows that this is Tommy's weak moment, and he needs to. Well, he really would love to get a break now, but at the same time, what are you just supposed to roll the ball back in and let Tommy kill you? Probably not, right? Ooh, but maybe that was exactly what he was supposed to do on the previous point, as now he does pretty much that. And Tommy is there with a +1 forehand unforced error, like right into the middle of the net. Third break point, once again saved. This time Klein has to save himself from that first serve of Paul with the slice return, and it does leave Tommy a lot of space to attack. Goes for a spinnier, heavier forehand inside out cross court. I mean, inside out, obviously. It is obviously inside out, so it is cross court. And he manages to get it out of Klein's reach. So 3 breakpoints saved already in this game. That's very, very weird at the moment, given that we have the physio waiting to enter, and yet the game won't end. And it's such a crucial one too. I mean, no breaks so far in this match. This time Klein going for a bit of a different approach. Huge forehand return from the back of way behind the baseline. And then he steps into the next one, gets an error out of Paul. 4th breakpoint already. So, yeah. And Sabov would serve for the match, as we're going to have the physio visit, probably, if we get to change over. Well, I'm saying if we get to change over. Even Klein is laughing about it now because he just dumps that slice into the middle of the net. So, yeah, you just can't convert these breakpoints. And in the meantime, I can tell you that Thiago Seibovild will be serving for the match. Which, yeah, to me, it's definitely more exciting. I mean, I think he has a stronger shot at beating Alcaraz potentially. Of course, provided that Carlos is going to be healthy and that he's going to beat Shevchenko today, which also doesn't really need to be like throwaway, but we'll find out soon. There's going to be one more breakpoint for Lukas Klein. I mean, this game is getting pretty ridiculous. The physio probably doesn't like it either, right? The physio is probably hating Klein and Paul at the moment too, because he just wants to get on the court, and yet we already have the 6 deuce. Well, if Fran Cerundolo is ever gonna win that match against Marozsan, this might be another opportunity. He's 4-love up in the tiebreak. Some ridiculous matches going on right now in Madrid for sure. And after all these breakpoints that Klein had here, we finally have an opportunity for Tommy Paul to clinch the game again. And I mean, likely get that physio visit. I'm assuming that it's him who wants it. The physio probably is biting his nails already as well, and just like, I want to get on the court. I mean, you guys, I'm at work. Allow me to work. But yeah, let's see what what sort of intervention it is and stuff. Yeah, it is for Tommy Paul. It's actually not going to be his thigh, but it's going to be something around his ankle, which is what he was injured, and which is what he injured in March, right? He's taking off the ankle brace and explaining something to the physio. Oh, and he fell here too earlier. Despite the brace, they're doing some treatment on his foot now. Well, tough to say. I mean, it doesn't look swollen to me. I think for now we're just gonna, while they're treating Tommy, we'll probably just switch over to Musetti for a moment and see if he ends up taking the match against Seibovild. I mean, other way around, obviously. Seibovild against Musetti. And the Brazilian goes to the net at 15-0, missing the forehand volley. Found the baseline on a couple of occasions earlier too. So, it was a point that really could have gone both ways on many occasions. Yeah, it's so hard for Musetti to like parry all these massive shots from Seibovild, I can see that he's like trying to avoid the slice because first of all, he can't really control it, it seems, when there's when these rockets are flying from Thiago. And also just the fact that he has to suddenly hit topspin against it, and Seibovild is suddenly, I mean, he's just launching rockets from the baseline, goes to 30 all. So obviously he's not the more reliable player here, and obviously he's more up and down, but it seems like his peak level in courts like Madrid, on courts like Madrid, I mean, yeah, it seems stronger. But it's still not obvious, as Musetti will actually have a break point. I'll check out if Klein and Paul are going to be back, but not yet at least. Marozsan Cerundolo 5-all in the second set tiebreak. I mean, this is going to be a disaster for Fran if he loses this. From, having won the match so many times really already. I'm going to have to make up. I'm going to have to rewatch some of the key points there for sure later. Yeah, and Musetti, Seibovilt again just going big at the Musetti backhand. So it's a match point for Seibovilt eventually. I think he double faulted though. Are we playing already in Paul Klein? We have a medical timeout for Tommy, so we will stay on Seibovilt Musetti for a second here. Oh, and we lost the scoreboard for some reason. Do I see a lot of Sinner in Fonseca? I can see what would make you say that. Yeah. And Cerundolo eventually won that match, so he finally gets the job done, winning the match on like 10 in 10 different ways, really. And Seibovilt also claims it, so I think by now we can probably switch over to Paul Klein again, see how Tommy is doing on the medical timeout, really. I think it's over now. He's putting on the shoe again. And yeah, Tommy Paul is back on the court. He's going to be playing. No retirement, obviously. I don't think we're really close to that, but yeah, Tommy Paul still 2-1 up in the second set. I mean, still on serve, right? Obviously, he's not in a losing position. He was very close to being down a break just before this medical timeout. Andrei Rublev will serve for the match against Bagnis. But I can see, by the way, regarding the chat, I can see what you mean for Sinner Fonseca. Who is physio out for Tommy Paul? And yeah, it just looks like the same thing, really, as in March, right? Why so much beard? Because I haven't shaved it. I mean, I am coming to a point where I will do it relatively shortly. I'm not sure why we lost the scoreboard, by the way. I will maybe try to pull up something myself while maybe John will fix it later. But let me try to do that. In the meantime, when it comes to the question about Tommy taking a set, I mean, he's been serving okay. It's hard to say how much the injury really affects him. I mean, clearly he's starting to like miss maybe some baseline shots because of it. But if he serves well, I mean, it's not impossible. I think Klein, showed a lot of vulnerability mentally in the previous game, where he had the chance to just put Tommy away right before the medical timeout and didn't. So, I mean, I don't know how much we can trust him, really. All right, I'll be fixing up the scoreboard for you in a second. For now, we actually are getting to 30 all. As, I mean, Klein needs to keep himself steady here. It's not that the match isn't won yet, despite Tommy struggling a bit. And, well, he needs to realize that. And it's actually going to be a breakpoint for Tommy Paul right away, right after that medical timeout. So, this can sometimes be deceptive for sure. You might end up thinking that, well, I kind of won the match already, but in fact, because he missed all these breakpoints at 1-game-all, he's now very close to going down the break in the second set. And Paul is getting these shots back. Paul is still making him work for it. And Paul gets the game. So right after the medical timeout, right after the break, we have a very sloppy one from Lukas Klein, who will be forced to work for this set from a breakdown. So, well, here you kind of have your answer already, right, regarding Paul's ability to win the set. I mean, obviously he can win it. We'll see if he will, but he is in a great position to do that now. I'm trying to find a better scoreboard than the ATP, but anyway. Grafiki. I'm not doing any graphics. Nie robię żadnych grafik. So hard to say for me, but if we're thinking of the graphics that the owner, the founder of the channel is doing, we have to ask him. And the ATP scoreboard is actually very weird for Madrid. I can't even enter it. Oh no, I can. Okay, I can when I do stats. I will have the scoreboard for you in a second, but well, I'm not sure what happened, why we lost it. Present. I mean, Jane, he was getting crashed. If Klein converted these breakpoints, I don't remember what I said, but obviously, I wasn't fully serious. But yeah, I mean, I still thought that Klein has a very good shot to win the match. What we're seeing right now is definitely a pretty weird turnaround, in that just before the MTO, he has all these breakpoints, and then just shit happens. Miniaturki, nie ja. Again, nie ja, więc can't help. All right, so I should have the scoreboard for you right now. I will enlarge it as well, just so it's there. I hope that it's going to be working fine in terms of serve return, because it most often isn't on the ATP website, but well, what can I do about it? Anyway, it's on the screen. And let's see how this keeps going. I mean, obviously, I was kind of not paying attention to the previous game, but it also doesn't seem like there was much to pay attention to. Klein unable to return most of the serves that Tommy was throwing at him. And it's 4-1 now for the American. And if anyone is sort of lost in terms of what's been happening, I mean, at 1-game-all, we were waiting for the physio to enter the court, and Klein had a billion breakpoints. I think it was 5. But instead of taking either one of them, he actually missed quite a lot of opportunities there. And then we have the medical timeout for Tommy. He comes back and breaks right away for the first time in the match. So huge momentum change that Klein really could have avoided had he taken either one of these breakpoints. Is Andre doing okay? Andre has just won the match. He has just served it out against Facundo Bagnis. So he is back in the winner's circle. He hadn't won in 4 matches, right? He, of course, lost to Lehečka in Indian Wells. He lost to, Lehečka in Indian Wells, Mahaj in Miami, Popperin in Monte Carlo, and Nakashima in Madrid. But Andrei Rublev stopped his losing streak. Can we already call 4 a losing streak? I don't know. Maybe we can. But he snaps that. He is able to finally get a win on the board and beat Facundo Bagnis in the second round. And I know for most players it wouldn't be a losing streak maybe, or it wouldn't be anything to talk about really that someone lost 4 in a row. But for Rublev, who has been so consistent basically ever since he became a top player, that was actually a pretty big storyline. Klein is like fully out of the match right now mentally. I mean, what the hell is the guy doing? Of course, this, we're not psychologists, or, we're not really, this is kind of just us guessing, right? But the fact that he didn't save these breakpoints, I mean, he didn't convert these breakpoints earlier at 1 game all, like it really seems to be playing with his mind here. And well, by now he might as well just lose this set 6-1. Last 10 points have gone Tommy Paul's way, and they show it sort of right on cue on the feed, because Klein wins the point basically with the table, with the chart still on there. But it's still 15-40, so could be a very quick set for Tommy Paul, which certainly was not the expectation when he was awaiting for that medical timeout and like barely hanging in that 1-0 game. But Klein now loosening up a little bit. He actually hits a couple shots more. It comes to Iga tomorrow. Depends on where she's scheduled, but probably not. I mean, not particularly excited about the match, to be honest. Świątek Kirstea. I mean, the last few times she's played Sorana, it was very easy. I can't tell you yet, even if we're gonna have a stream from that, because we're just doing it like kinda, when we see the schedule and we sort of think whether one of us will be able to cover. But I don't know if Iga will even be a priority. But yeah, for now I just can't tell. For him it was, Jane. Yeah, I totally agree. Ever since 2020, really, ever since that big breakthrough that he had that year, he was not losing these opening matches ever, really. So for him it was, 5-1 Tommy Paul, and that's such a weird set. I mean, I really don't know what to tell you. 1 game all, 5 breakpoints. Tommy Paul struggling physically, and then he still hasn't lost a game since the medical timeout. And is that the timeout actually helping him out here? I mean, maybe a little bit, but the fact that he was able to get some treatment on the foot, sure. But on the other hand, I just feel like Klein, knows that he had the match won, and well, clearly still needs a bit more time to reset. Maybe he's gonna do it for the third set, who knows? But for now, he's just kind of all over the place and still finds a couple of nice shots here. I mean, the backhand down the line here is on the, basically unplayable. But by now, it just doesn't seem like it matters because he's just down 1-5. So swinging a bit more freely here will not exactly change the course of the set, I would assume. Although maybe Klein has other ideas. Maybe he can actually come back from 1-5. Who knows? Below 30 here, so at least 1 break he will be in a decent position to recover. What was the MTO for? Something with his foot. Seemed like the ankle again. Seemed like the injury that he had in March. which was, well, first of all, he rolled his ankle against Medvedev, right? And then the same foot against Martin Dam in Miami, where against Dam he had to retire. This is his first match since. I don't think we were ever really in retirement territory here, but there was definitely a moment when like his footwork of the ground was becoming a bit more sloppy. Because of that, there were more errors. I think we're still kind of there, but yeah, the last few games, just Klein hasn't really been able to make him work for it all that much. But yeah, I mean, Tommy is obviously fine to continue. He might be feeling a bit of discomfort, though. That's kind of where we are. That's kind of what we know, right? So just 2 points away from the set now, Tommy Paul, 30 all. Basically, almost all of these matches that we've had since the morning have been wrapped up. This one is actually going a lot longer than the rest, despite being pretty quick in terms of the action and how quick the games tend to be. Great backhand down the line from Tommy here, so he has a set point to go 6-1 up, and we would go into the decider with very little idea as to what's going on, really. The only other match that started at 11 a.m. that's also still not finished is Andreeva Noskova, which of course we're also doing on the channel. There's a separate stream, and it's 3 breakpoints for Mirra there in the third set at 3 games all. Can Paul just clinch the set here? Yes, he can. 6-1. What a throwaway couple of games from Klein, really, since that MTO. And let's see if he can reset himself for the decider, because that seems to be the biggest deal here, right? Whether Klein is going to be able to come back to his previous disposition, come back to the quality that he was showing in the first set, and keep pushing Tommy Paul because obviously it was requiring like a lot of control from him as well to hit through Paul. The fact that Tommy was getting to everything off the ground in the first set, but he was coming up with this. He was supplying it. So yeah, third set very soon. And of course, that means the fact that so many of these matches that were there, that were first on the courts, have already been wrapped up. We actually will start a lot of them. We'll basically swap them out with a lot of other stuff, obviously. Linette Sabalenka, third game. Paulini already up a double break on Jimenez Kasintseva. I see that Buksa and Kasatkina are on the court too. Andreeva up a break in the third on Noskova. On the men's side, we actually still have just one more match right now. Paul Klein and Altmaier Fields, but Altmaier Fields are warming up, so technically we still have just one more match, just one match in play, actually. But yeah, let's see how long the break will be. Tommy is definitely staying on the court. He's changing his grip. Not as quick as Richard Gasquet, but he's definitely not been slow about it either. Klein is also sitting there, so I think after some brief court maintenance, we probably will be back momentarily. Tommy has this collection of rackets here next to his bench and like just kind of choosing which one to go with. I'm just reading Twitter, some stats on Rublev Bagnis. I don't think we can really learn much, right, from that one, but 18 forehand winners for Andre, 3 on the backhand side. That's a pretty high contrast for sure. 126 on the forehand average speed. I mean, for Rublev, that's maybe a bit more normal than for most players, but that's still very high, I think. So I guess he was kind of like hitting out, just needed a big match, needed a big win, and that's what he supplied for himself. All right, we're back. Lukas Klein serving first in the third set, and he needs to get back to his, regular mental state very quickly, basically, because the last few games of the first set, the second set, sorry, that was just completely fell apart after that MTO and after not converting these 5 breakpoints. He's had a funky event for sure, in that he plays such a high quality first set against Yamas Ruiz. He completely dominates this match for a set and a half. Then suddenly everything falls apart after he misses 1 breakpoint and at 4 games all, and then he has to climb his way back into the match himself from 1-3. And we're kind of in a similar moment with Paul here, where maybe he wasn't fully in control of the match yet, but it seemed like Klein is on the verge of just picking up the pieces here and just getting a lead that was likely going to be decisive, with Tommy also struggling physically. But then he misses these 5 breakpoints, kind of laughing at himself at one point even, but that mentality of just going about his business, it didn't really stay for him there. The next few games he just plays a horrible patch. And well, let's see. I mean, serving first here, definitely if he can get a few games in, maybe that can help him. Here it was already getting a little weird because he's love 15 down, and I know that's not much, but with how the last few games have been going, Klein kind of needed a couple of easier points and he didn't get them. But he was actually able to construct this very nice rally, just spreading the court with the forehand very well. And then there's this finish here where he goes softer instead of putting the ball away, but in this case it was justified. 40-15. And backhand cross, setting up a nice forehand for himself, but Tommy gets everything back. Jesus. Finally, he's able to hit through him, though. 1 game for Klein in the third set. And, well, I mean, I think in this position, serving first definitely actually helps him. Just the fact that if he can keep holding, he'll have some chances at the pole serve that, he can just swing a little bit more freely at and hit out. Have a funnier time there. Start enjoying the game again, because in the second set that was a total meltdown. Admire and Fields on the court already. We have 5-3 for Andreeva in the third set. And Paulini will serve for the opener with 5-0. Wow. But yeah, then again, is it surprising against Jimenez Kasintseva? I guess not. So yeah, Tommy Paul serving at love 1 down in the deciding set. He won the last 5 games in the second set. But now Klein stopped the bleeding. And Paul will need to start, well, I mean, he's been playing clean the whole match, really. Other maybe than that 1 game where he was really close to just breaking down physically. But even though he's won 5 games in a row, obviously the match isn't done yet. And it's a pretty weird one for both players, for sure, in how this has been going. Did Klein really miss that? Oh, that must have been close. Could have been a real opportunity because Tommy double faulted on the first point of the game, but it is 15-all now. First serve, just 52% of points for Tommy, but he's winning 80% of them. So, that's definitely quite helpful. Again, just it seems like all these shots from Klein should be doing more damage than they are, but Paul is just a wall. Can he finally force an error out of Tommy? Yes. cross-court forehand. A couple of very nice forehands from Klein, because as I mentioned earlier, like he has sometimes he can have issues hitting over low ball, accelerating over low ball with his forehand with the technique that he has, but a couple ones here that were actually very controlled. So most of the time he doesn't get that. 15-30. Still hasn't broken Paul in this match. And we'll get 2 opportunities here. The block return is a little confusing, I guess, for Tommy, who tries to slice approach his way to the net, and he misses that one. So 2 breakpoints now for Klein. Big return. Tommy is in the point, goes to the net, and I think he's gonna miss this, right? Yeah, Klein talking about something to the umpire. Maybe it was about the serve in itself or something like that. But anyway, of course, the point continued. And Tommy Paul found his way into the net. Klein having this backhand open corridor backhand cross court, but he just misses it. So 1 more breakpoint that he can't convert in this match. We are at 0 out of 7, I think, by now. Another opportunity here. He's in the point, and he dumps the slice into the net. Yeah, this is just becoming a ridiculously unclutch performance from him. He's laughing about it to Schmidlova again. I mean, first of all, you can't really call this ridiculously unclutch, given that in the first set tiebreak, he was just a machine from 2-4 down. But yeah, the last 2 sets, he's just not even giving himself a shot with these breakpoints, two errors like this where he just completely messes up the slice. It's very tough to win a match when you're missing so many opportunities, obviously. And clearly he's letting this get into his head too. I mean, the whole second set was a big display of that. So even if Tommy might not be at the 100% of his physical powers today, he's still making a lot of balls, and he's not making it that easy for him. But, well, Klein is just not allowing himself these opportunities when he misses slices like this on break points, and yeah, just kind of makes these tame errors suddenly. And now at game point, Paul. What do we have here? Long rally, Klein a little ahead, but is he going to be able to convert it? I don't think so. Yeah, he eventually misses that shot at the baseline. So 1 game all now. Things are getting so tense here. How many chances can you miss and still win a match? I guess we're going to find out soon. If that's possible, or is he just going to lose? And Mira Andreeva also closed out against Linda Noskova, so that other stream we had is probably down by now. 4-6, 6-3, 6-3 win for Andreeva, who of course had this major run here last year, really announcing herself to the big stage after earlier being in the final of the Australian Open, winning a lot of high-quality ITF events, but, well, a lot of, like 2 or 3. And then, of course, beating Fernandez, Haddad Maya, and Linette. She really needed a run like this, I think, after the last few months were a bit tricky for her, and she manages to find it in Madrid again, beating Noskova and earlier Townsend. We'll see how far she can actually get in this draw. I'm not sure who she's playing, actually. I guess I wasn't maybe looking past that. Well, Vondroushova or Rogers next for Andreeva, so that's clearly a real opportunity. And in fact, Andreeva can play Garcia or Jimenez Kasintseva or Paolini in the 4th round if she beats Vondroushova or Rogers. So, I mean, I don't know if she's gonna take it, but the draw for the quarters is there. The draw for the quarters is just lying there and asking to be taken, I think, a little bit. Let's see if there are any more breakpoints asking to be taken for Lukas Klein, but for now, of course, it's his service game. For now, just needs to get through it to potentially secure any opportunities later on. Altmaier and Fils started already. Altmaier up an early break. They've been playing with each other so much recently, right? I mean, 4 times since November now. So 4 times in 6 months. Of course, Altmaier winning very easily in Paris, ATP Masters 1000 Paris, of course, not Roland Garros. Then Auckland, I think Altmaier retired, and then Barcelona last week, a free setter going Fils' way. Or was it Monte Carlo? Oh, one of these anyway. Close to finding this cat and mouse pass, Klein, but I think he's actually missed it. 40-30 still, though. Just a set where he has a very clear game plan, obviously. Keep holding and see if there are any chances more that pop up on the pulse serve. And, well, actually take them. But let's see if he can fulfill the first part for now. As in keep holding. Yes, he can, as Tommy tries to go for a bigger second serve return with the backhand and just misses it. So 2-1 Klein in the third. Still, we don't know all that much. I mean, still this has been an extremely tight affair. And a lot of that is on Klein missing more breakpoints. 0 out of 8. Tommy Paul is 2 out of 5 when it comes to their conversion. Of course, 5 of these breakpoints were in the second set. 5 of these breakpoints were in the 1-all game in the second set, which kind of completely changed the outcome, the way that the game went, even the way that the set went, I mean. Shank Davidovich Fokina also on the court. I suppose that's one that a lot of people will also be wanting to watch. I mean, clearly a matchup between two very exciting and kind of like two extremely talented players in terms of their hand skills, but also with questionable shot selection and like, yeah, still a lack of ability to maybe utilize their games, their talent in the most effective manner, which makes it maybe even more exciting in a way. Paulini up a set on Jimenez Kasintseva. It was a bagel. I don't know if we're getting another double bagel here. I mean, we've already had Goff beating Arantxa Rus like that. But there is potential there for that, it seems. But yeah, Lukas Klein back, and I mean, I guess rather Tommy Paul back to serve at 1-2. The last game, of course, was very tough for him again. 2 break points. Klein narrowly missing a backhand pass on one of them. The other, once again, just kind of slice middle of the net. So let's see if this one can be a bit cleaner for Tommy. I wasn't expecting this one to be actually, such a long match. But as it turns out, that's what it is. And even if the first set, it was a tiebreak, it was still pretty short in terms of how quickly the games were going. But probably ever since we had these physical issues, and of course the MTO adds too much time, but also just the fact that we've had many drawn-out games by now definitely changed the pacing of this match a little bit. Klein coming up with some very decent defensive shots here, but, well, he's only going to be able to do it for like 3 or 4 shots. Eventually, Tommy finds the option to throw him off his feet in a way, get him off balance finally. So this game is definitely lining up for Tommy a little bit better. And indeed, 40 love up, Tommy Paul. So, well, he shows that not every single game will be like the last one from now on. Some insights on our screen. Tour average in attack is 25%. Klein is fulfilling that today. Paul, though, not just 19%. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious that against Klein, you're not going to be attacking all the time. We've seen many players come up against him this year and kind of have to be forced, just kind of be forced to being, if not an extra, but just responding to his aggression rather than actually coming up with it themselves and creating play. But yeah, it's a very quick game for Tommy Paul, so 2 games all now. We still don't know, you know what, S. I think he gets that error from Klein here. There was this funky shot when Tommy just stopped moving, basically. Like his legs were not taking part in this shot at all. And he still picks up this forehand on the stretch. Obviously, I mean, I've said it many times, but like he's really such a good athlete. And it is a major asset for him in this match too. Just the way that he's able to extend the rallies and make Klein hit that one more shot, which often is a problem for the Slovak. Well, here he kind of gets into another issue, and that's only himself, though. Like, that's a double fault, and that's love 30. So after all these opportunities that Klein missed, being allergic to breakpoints, or at least to taking breakpoints, he might be in real trouble soon. Has Tommy flying? What? What the hell was that point? That's insane. I mean, again, Tommy just defending everything, but Klein didn't really know what to do on the last shot. And he goes for one of the most ridiculous aggressive shots I've ever seen. He misses it by a tiny bit. But again, the defense from Tommy was just spectacular. And it is 3 breakpoints now for the American, who's, well, kind of had no business being in this match, but he's in it and he's still going. And by now, he might as well just win the whole thing. Well, the first breakpoint save from Klein is pretty special, though. He finds the baseline like twice here. And especially that last running forehand, just barely clipping it. I mean, slice of luck, slice of genius, however you want to call it. Still 2 more opportunities for Paul, who's, well, definitely the player winning the mental battle here. And now he's also in the lead for the very first time, right? Yeah. The net court slightly helping him, maybe. He goes to the net, he smashes the ball, and Klein can't produce the pass. This is, this is going to be a brutal defeat for Klein, if that's indeed where we're heading. And for the moment, it does look like that's where we're heading, as Tommy Paul is up a break in the third. Again, who is the winner of this match is a ridiculous question because the match is still going. So how would I be able to tell you that if I don't have a way of looking into the future? And I don't. Currently, it's Tommy Paul up a break in the third set. He only needs to hold his serve 3 times to potentially win it. But we'll see if he's able to do it. Altmaier 4-1 up on fields on other courts. Paolini looking for that 8th game against Jimenez Kasintseva, the Andorian. What is even the adjective from Andorra? The Andorra native still hasn't won a game. Yeah, Andorran apparently. So you don't add Andorian there, just Andorran. Okay, so the Andorran teenager. Sabalenka up an early break on Linette 4-2. Of course, that's a matchup she's dominated in the past, but for Arina, it's pretty important to get a win as well. Since the Australian Open just kind of like 50% win rate or thereabouts, and really not doing that hot. So yeah, Tommy Paul serving 3-2. It, of course, wouldn't be the most ridiculous thing in the world if Klein just, was allergic to taking break points the entire match. But then the moment he goes down a break in the decider, he suddenly stops. But I don't know if I quite see it at the moment. I mean, he really would have to step it up mentally too. That's a massive, massive point for Tommy Paul here. That's just incredible. Again, he had no business staying in this rally, but he somehow did with this pickup here, and then counters. Well, that's unplayable. And now it's Tommy Paul like flying, He's suddenly got this new burst of energy. He's got everything in his control, it seems, in this game, He's really making it look like it. Wow, some of the best forehands we've seen in this match from Tommy Paul here. The previous point, this one, I mean, this is kind of the speed that Klein has gotten us used to, but Tommy is showing, I have that too, I can blast the ball like this too. You're not the only guy on the court who can just rampage a forehand like this. And yeah, 4-2 up Tommy Paul. That was a very clean hold. That was a very confident hold as well. Really showing Klein, if he gets any more opportunities, he's going to have to earn them. But for now, of course, the Slovak needs to hold first himself at 2-4 down. Nice pickup here. Very low contact point on this backhand, but he still generates a lot on it. Cross court for a winner. But it's not coming easy for him this game. I mean, Paul is really in probably one of his best moments of the match right now. After all this time. Complaining about the bounces here, Klein just kind of, not focusing as well on the best on the most important stuff, I suppose. 40-15 now for the Slovak, so at least he's close to clinching this game and keeping his dreams of winning the match alive. And Paul misses the blocked forehand return. So 4-3 Tommy Paul, still 2 holds away. The last one was brilliant, so he'll be hoping for a repeat of that once he comes back from the changeover. Can we already send over the congratulations to Jimenez Kasintseva? Not yet, but she has a game point to finally get on the board against Paolini. Lots of women's action at the moment. On the men's, Daniel Altmaier will serve for the first set at 5-1 against Arthur Fils. And you might remember that Altmaier last year was actually the quarterfinalist at this event. So he's got quite a nice record at this venue. In fact, that might be the only time he's ever played it. So that would make it a very nice record. And yes, indeed, that's the only time he ever played it. He made the quarters as a lucky loser last year too, worth mentioning. He beat Otte, Hanfman, and Munar before eventually losing to Chorich after going out to Rodionov in the final qualies round. Of course, he wasn't even the best lucky loser in Madrid last year, with that being pretty much covered by Aslan Karatsev, sorry, not Aslan Karatsev, but Jan Lennart Struve, who made the final after losing to Aslan Karatsev in the final qualies round. This time, I think the lucky losers, well, Bautista Agut can still do it, but for now, I think he's the only one. Coria was next in line, I believe, but I'm not sure if he's still there, if he's still waiting for that chance. He probably is. As until all the seeds haven't showed up, right? You can still get a lucky loser spot into the second round. But yeah, Tommy Paul serving at 4-5. 4-3, of course. Just 2 holds away. And it looks like he'll already be 30 love up. Yeah, and it seems to be just yet another easy hold for Tommy. So once again, we have to think about that second game of the third set where Klein has a couple of breakpoints and just ends up doing a pretty poor job on them. Because since Paul has been very confident, maybe a backhand return like this can take away some of that confidence. But well, it's at love 40, right? So. Now it's just 30-40 though. This match has been a big journey for Klein. Winning this from such a position obviously would be a huge finish of that whole trip, but at the moment it's still looking less likely than just Paul wrapping up the job. And in fact, it's a big serve from Tommy to go 5-3 up. So just one more game for the American, who is looking definitely confident at the moment. Like he's braver, he's ballsier now, he's finding all these big serves, cracking more forehands too. The percentages on first serve, I think, have gone up pretty significantly. So finding that break back will not be easy. But I mean, that's what you get, right? Klein was allergic to taking these breakpoints earlier, and now he's paying the full price for it. Sometimes he even laughed about, the slices that he was playing breakpoint up, right? But pretty sure right now he doesn't find it a laughing matter anymore. All right, 30-15. Klein goes to the net. Does he find this? I don't even know. This was very close. I think he has, though. Yeah, Tommy applauding this shot, too. That was quite a volley on the stretch. This could have been match point down. This was a 30 all, actually. But it is 40-30 for the Slovak now. As he's just trying to extend his life in this one, try to get that one more game where he potentially could break Paul for the first time, and he will get it. So 5-4, Tommy Paul is going to serve for the match after the changeover. For now, Klein has done his job, and he will have one more crack at Paul's serve. But if the last two games are anything to go by, that crack will potentially not be anything spectacular. Ooh, and Jimenez Kasintseva still hasn't won a game. But now she has another break. I mean, this time a break point. She has another chance in the 10th game of the match. Hopefully, she'll avoid that double bagel. Sabalenka with a set point on Linette. So far, this match seems pretty clean for her. Kalinina also started against Dolheit. Just 3 matches going on on the men's side with Altmaier Fils. Altmaier has just taken the first set 6-2. And Shank Davidovich Fokina still in its early stages with, of course, Paul Klein likely about to get wrapped up. But we'll see. So this is the big one. Tommy Paul serving at 5-4. So far not broken in this match. 1 breakpoint saved in the opener, 5 in the second set, 2 in the third set. 3 games where he was in trouble, but basically only 2 where it was like real. And both of these, Lukas Klein did not step up. So can he do it when the pressure is on? Can he do it in what potentially can be the last game of the match? Well, he gets the first point, keeping the ball within the lines. Seems like it's getting a bit more windy. I don't know if that actually helps either player, to be honest, but it might make things a bit more random, just a bit more of a lottery. But if Tommy just gets a lot of first serves in, he should be fine. Klein putting in this weak block return, which ends up just giving Tommy a very nice +1 forehand kill. So 15-all, 3 points away from the match. He was already 2 points away in the previous game, but that was on return. So of course, a much bigger opportunity here. 15-30. Klein is fighting for it. I mean, you have to give him that. Very close to making that first serve, Tommy, but it's actually going to be a second. What sort of approach does Klein take here? Well, he has to go after it, yeah, but he dumps it into the net. So 30-all now. We already had a 30-all, of course, in the previous game on return for Paul. Now on serve, he's super close to winning this one. There's a sigh of relief from him as well. I guess he was expecting, to be in trouble after that second serve, but Klein wasn't able to create that. And it's a nice first serve at the body to give Tommy Paul his first match point. Tries to go for that same first serve kick out wide again, misses it. This time Klein trying to just get the ball in play, but it's actually a pretty spectacular second serve from Tommy Paul. I mean, that's kind of why Klein was all match, he was trying to take it early, right? Just not allow it to bounce like this. But, well, this time he was, of course, just trying to put the return in play, but it doesn't work out. So Tommy Paul gets through. 6-7, 6-1, 6-4. Tommy Paul is into the third round in Madrid, where he's going to play France Cerundolo, who dominated Fabian Marozsan today, but had massive issues in the line. In terms of this match, I mean, it wasn't a confident performance really, like as a whole, but he definitely grew confident as it went on. Like, he got a lot more self-belief after that MTO, after that meltdown from Klein in the second set. And by the time he went up a break in the third, like he was actually really on point after that. So I guess, he just kind of showed Klein that, you miss these chances and then I'm just not going to give you any, especially after the two at the beginning of the third set, right? Like after that, it was impossible to catch Tommy from that position anymore because, he just managed to murder Klein in the rest of the games, really. When all the ones on his serve pretty easily. Anything in the stats that we need to talk about? Probably not really. Of course, he was winning a lot of his first serve points, Paul, and as the match went on, his percentages on serve really improved. The first set getting just 43% in. After that, 64 in the second set. And then I suppose in the third set it was 65 again. So that was definitely also a vital part of the match. And I don't think he actually made all that many first serves on the breakpoints, which on some of them really Klein did a pretty horrific job. But, he missed his chances. And after that, he just gave Tommy the ability to start believing in himself more, start playing that more confident game. Obviously, the entire match, the agility, the fitness, the athleticism of Tommy Paul was also really important here. Just making Klein play one more ball is always a right play, is always the right strategy against someone with such a hyper-aggressive style. So Tommy Paul makes it through. Is he the favorite on clay over Franz Cerundolo? I would say maybe not, but obviously it's very close and it's definitely up there for both players to go out on the court and try to win. And with that, we are going to end the streaming for today. I actually don't know if we're going to have anything later in the day. I'm definitely not going to be on it, though. So perhaps see you tomorrow. And thank you for everyone who was present here watching Klein Paul with me. A slightly disappointing affair from the second set onwards, but well, maybe if Klein took his chances in the third set, maybe we would have had a more thrilling finish. Maybe we would have had a deciding set tiebreak or something like that. But yeah, for Tommy, we also have to see, of course, how that ankle performs later on in the week, because, well, he was okay after the MTO, I think, but there was a physical dip that Klein failed to capitalize, which was kind of like the theme of the match. Anyway, that's going to be it from me today. Once again, thank you to everyone who was here, and I'll see you guys sometime soon. Bye.